Well, Happy New Year, one and all. Tonight, what I'm going to do is a lot of people do unboxing videos. I'm going to do a boxing video, show you at least one way of packing up a bunch of cast iron so that it can survive shipment. Now, shipping companies, the post office, aren't necessarily really careful with your packages, even if they're marked fragile. And while cast iron is cast iron, it's hardly indestructible. It gets dropped right, it can break. So you have to package it with the assumption that the box is going to get dropped, going to fall off a conveyor belt, fall off a machine somewhere, and it's going to get slammed around and handled pretty roughly. So let me take a sip here of my drink, and we'll move on over to the table and we'll start packing stuff up. Okay, now I'm putting together a bit of a cast iron care package. I have a friend who moved into a new house, so I'm going to set her up with a nice set of cast iron cookware. Going to give her a Dutch oven. This is a nice Wagnerware Dutch oven. Got a lid for it. That's actually a BSR Century Series lid, but it fits good. It'll work just fine and dandy for that. Going to give her a square Wagnerware pan. And I'm kind of proud of this one. This is one that I repaired recently. No, I didn't do a video on it. Not where I can really set up and film. But hopefully come spring I'll be able to do some more videos. But in the meantime, I'm getting lots of practice and getting good at it. It was cracked in the corner. And you can just see the weld there. Around it, it'll darken up pretty nice. That should darken some. Probably won't quite entirely blend in. Show the inside a little bit there. And with the light, but that turned out really good. I'm tickled with the way that turned out. It's going to blend in real nice over time. I got a number 3 and a number 5. These are both Griswold groove handled skillets. I was going to give her some other stuff, but she has a glass top stove. So smooth bottom things work best on a glass top stove. You can use a pan with a heat ring on a glass top stove, but the heat ring lifts the bottom of the pan up off the top of the stove a little bit. It takes longer to heat up. It doesn't heat as well. It's a little harder to control. I also got a couple other things that I'm going to throw in there with it. And let's get some of this stuff out of the way and we'll get started. Now, I'm going to nest together most of this stuff into 2 or 3 bundles and then pack the bundles up in the box. I'm going to start off with my Dutch oven, and I got a piece of, this is pipe insulation. A lot of people use pool noodles. If you can get pool noodles cheap and on sale, that's great. 3/4 inch or 1 inch pipe insulation is cheaper still, and you can get it at Menards, Lowe's, most home improvement stores, hardware stores have it, and it's pretty cheap. It comes in like 6 foot or so pieces. And pipe insulation, you put it around the edge. Put it around the edge. And you just work it around the edge so that your edge doesn't get all beat up. Put that on, and this here is going with. So I will put that inside, push it down. That'll hold that insulation on nice. And it fits in there good and snug. You want your things so that they can't bang around, either bang against each other or the sides of the box. Now, I'm going to put the lid on top, but first I'm going to wrap that up with a piece of pipe insulation. Now, proper packaging is kind of one of the biggest problems you're going to run into getting things off of auction sites, Facebook Marketplace, things like that, because a lot of times people think they can just throw it in a box, crumple up a couple of pieces of newspaper, and it'll be fine. And that is not the case. All right, that should stay. Get a little tape on that just to hold her in place. Okay, now, like I said, you want all of this to be bound together good so that it doesn't bang around and beat around in the box. Why are you fighting me? Okay. There. And for the time being, we'll set this aside. I gotta double check something. I gotta see if that's still gonna fit right in my box with the pan underneath of it. Yeah, that'll still work. So, what I'll do now is add this to the bottom. No, maybe I don't. I'll save that little bit of height just so I got a bit more space. Yeah. All right. So there's that bunch. Now, we'll put all of these into one bunch. That'll look good. And we'll cut that off right there. Put a piece of tape around that. Bring this back around to here. The tape is always the fun part because it'll fight you every step of the way, just because. Looks like pipe insulation. Yeah, that is pipe insulation. Couldn't find any pool noodles. It was a little bit late in the season around here for that sort of thing. And the ones they did have were more expensive than the pipe insulation, so shouldn't be hard to figure out which one I chose. Get a little tape on that just to hold it in place. Fortunately, neatness doesn't really count with this. Oops, I got my sticky part facing the wrong way. There we go. Now, you want something for padding in between things when you nest them together like this. So what I will do is take some bubble wrap, because I save bubble wrap when I get things shipped to me so I can reuse it for things like this. Let's see here. Oh, I need about yay much. And I will put some around this guy. Need to wrap that handle a little bit more. Set it in there like that. Cut some more. Cut some more. And around this one we go. Set that down. And we'll tape this up. Now the bubble wrap that's going around these isn't so much to protect them in shipping as it is to protect them from each other. Like I said, you don't want things banging around and banging against each other. That'll fit down in there. And there's another bundle all done. Got one more thing that's going to go in the box, and that's going to be this enameled muffin pan. This is an import. It's kind of heavy, but it's a nice, pretty blue color. Got a little bit of speckliness to it, and she'll like that. Now, let's see. Set that aside. And here's our box. What I'm going to do is, you want something on the bottom, of course, to keep your stuff up off the bottom and to protect from being dropped. Got a couple pieces of this stuff. This paper is kind of laminated together. It makes pretty good padding, especially for the bottoms of your box. So we'll put that in. Then reach over here, grab this, and we'll set that on top. Now, I'm going to kind of test fit my stuff a little bit, make sure it's all going to go where I wanted it to. And I'm going to have to put this underneath my Dutch oven. There. Yeah, I still got enough room to close it good, so that'll be all right. Now, these here are going to go on one side, and my muffin tin, where'd that go, is going to go on the other. But they're not going to go in there quite like that. This has all got to be packed in and packed around. So, I'm going to put a little, quite big enough. Come here, cat. There. Put some some bubble wrap on this guy. Already bubble wrap popping. And I'll turn that around the other way. Don't bite me. Okay, that's going to work. Now, like I said, you want your stuff to fit tight inside there. So I'm going to pack all of this empty space. You also want to try and keep your things away from the sides by an inch or so. So I'll get some stuff packed in on the ends and on the sides, and we should be pretty much good to go. And for that, more bubble wrap. Like I said, I reuse bubble wrap that I get when I get stuff shipped to me. I also stockpile packing paper over the course of the summer because I use it for starting fires in my fireplace. But I'll just keep jamming the bubble wrap in there. If you pack it hard enough that it makes the sides of your box bulge a little bit, that's okay. Because then you know for sure you've got plenty of room in there. Now get something in between the bottom of those pans and the outside. Big bubble wrap. Move this over a little bit. Well, you cheap bastard. Just ripped the corner of my box out. I was barely even pushing on it. Now, question is, do I want to use this box, tape it up good, or should I try and find another one? Damn it. I gotta get away with taping this, so let me get a little tape going here. It can never be easy. That'll hold that for now, and we'll take better care when it's time to seal it up. Tape the whole box, make it fun to open. Yeah, I'll get her taped up real good. Now, let's see here, we're doing good. A little bit concerned about that handle because that's a little bit close to the top. So, let the cat go with that piece of head. Oh well. I'm going to put stick down a piece of insulation there on the top of that. There. Torment the cat a little bit. Okay, a little bit of about there, a little bit more bubble wrap over the top, and we're pretty much done. Get everything squeezed together. Now, you. And yes, I'm going to seal the seam in the middle. This is just to hold things down, hold things together for the time being. There, we basically got that packed up. Now, like I said, the big thing you want to do is make sure things can't rattle around. So that's all one solid piece. So pick your box up and give it a shake. If you hear stuff moving around inside, you didn't pack it enough. It shouldn't rattle. You shouldn't hear things moving around. Yeah, Kitty wants in on it because Kitty's a pain. There, torment you a little bit. Anyhow, get a bit more taping done here. And, like I said, the corner of the box ripped on me. So we'll go round and round with some tape a few times. Seal that corner up good, and it should be okay. Back on. Can't even tell which one ripped now. There it is. And we'll seal up the corner of that. Come on. Damn tape. Now, we'll go around and around a couple of times the other way. Because I want to get the seam sealed up good. I want to get these ends here a little bit more. That's the last of that roll of tape, which is okay, I guess. That's all I had left. But that's sealed up pretty good. before I mail that, I gotta get a little bit more tape. And I'll give her just a little bit, another wrap around either end, and probably a couple of more wraps around the side just to keep that corner together. But there you have it, all boxed up and ready to go. Like I said, you get done packing it, pick it up, give it a shake, make sure there's nothing rattling around, and that's 90% of your fight right there. Now, let me move some cameras and turn off some lights quick. Move that over here. Get the microphone out the way. Okay, kill that. There. I should be able to sit myself down now. All right, that'll work. Got a little bit of a funny angle here. But there you have it. That's all packed up and ready to go. Like I said, I'll give it a little bit more tape when I get some more tape. Probably got another roll floating around here somewhere, but where it might be at the moment, I couldn't tell you because that's the only one I could find. I just bought a couple of pans from Goodwill auction. They do a really good job. Some do, some don't. They come from individual Goodwill stores. They don't ship from a central location. They get shipped from whoever has the item. A lot of them do fairly good. I have gotten some that were just, like I said, they just throw it in a box, crumple up a couple of pieces of newspaper and think it's good. So it's kind of hit or miss with them. Generally, I've had good luck, but I have seen some that were lucky to survive, but fortunately made it intact. And hang on to your packing materials. I'm all sweaty. It was hot over there. Hang on to your packing materials within reason. I mean, every now and then I got to do a big purge of bubble wrap and boxes because there get to be a few too many of them. But like I said, I use quite a bit of it for the paper and the cardboard I use for starting fires in the wood stove. So it is useful. But once you get to a certain point, you got to go ahead and purge, get rid of some of the stuff. The pool noodles, pipe insulation really works nice because you can protect the edges of your things really, really good. And it gives it a bit of a standoff, so it's not sitting right up against the box, which is also nice. So, I recommend definitely use make use of the pipe insulation and make sure that everything is packed good. Make sure it's not rattling around in there. That's the biggest thing, that you have at least an inch, 2 inches is better if you can, if you got enough room. Have a couple inches of packing material between your item and the outside world, and make sure it can't rattle around in the box, because that's what really seems to break things up worse, is because it can bang around in the box. It's like not being in a box at all and just dropping it on a concrete floor. But how much will that cost to ship? That's probably going to be around $40. The UPS priority mail is usually, for me anyway, is usually cheapest. Sometimes it's a couple of bucks cheaper for UPS or FedEx, but it's more of a hassle to get it shipped. And a lot of times it costs quite a bit more, actually. So I usually ship via the post office. And they have standard size boxes, but sometimes you can still, even if it's an out of standard size, they'll still give you the flat rate as long as it isn't too hugely big. If they'll give me the flat rate, you can ship up to 70 pounds for I think it's like 21.75, something like that, 22 bucks, which isn't too bad. But I'll see what that actually ends up costing and let you know. In the meanwhile, I did get one new item. I got it off the Goodwill site for 25 bucks. Now, I like hammered stuff, and I have a weakness for nickel plating. So, coming across a hammered nickel plated Wagner skillet tickled me to no end. Like I said, I got it for 24 bucks plus shipping, still a decent price for it. I'll get that in the lye bath as soon as we're done here, and that should clean up real good. Getting plated stuff that has a lot of buildup on it can be kind of a crapshoot, but the end of the handle looks pretty good. There's a little bit of flaking on the bottom. You can kind of see where it flaked a little bit there. But what you can see of the plating, most of it looks pretty good, except for a little bit on the bottom. There's no obvious rust. So this should turn out pretty nice, I'm thinking. And that's a Wagner ware hammered finish. You can see it's got that kind of animal print style of hammering on it. And this one is marked. Most of a lot of the plain iron Wagner ware isn't marked, but this one is. So there you have it. And I'll show you that once we get her all cleaned up again. You're buffering. Hopefully. Yeah, Gorilla Tape. Yeah, I'll get some decent, some good packing tape. That stuff ain't bad. It's fairly cheap, but if you can get the reinforced stuff, that's a lot better. Probably pick up a couple of rolls of that just to make sure everything's strapped together good. Somebody asking about where you can get boxes, maybe. Oh, you love the butcher block? Yeah, it turned out really nice. Like I said, I'm happy with it. I put the little frame on the bottom and the wheels so I can wheel it around. And just on the side there, you can see that black bar. That's some heavy steel flat stock that I bolted onto each side of it, so it'd spread the clamping force out a bit more, so I could tighten it up a little better. Because before it was just the 3 rods that went through it, and they're getting kind of loose in between the rods, and they seem to work really nice now. Making Dan wait till the show was over till he can have his banana pudding. Well, I'll try not to keep you too much longer. Cruel woman withholding banana pudding. What do I know about Prizer enameled skillets? I looked it up from the 50s, didn't last long. I've seen them, they're nice skillets. If I remember right, they have kind of a, on the bottom of the pan, they have like a pattern of 3 radiating lines, if I remember right. They got some kind of design on the bottom of the pan usually, and they say Prizer ware. And yeah, they were made in the 50s. They made enameled cast iron, and really that's all I really know about them. But I have seen them. They usually have some pretty nice colors. I think they got a real pretty turquoise, and a couple other colors are pretty nice. The prices on them are kind of all over. I've seen them sell cheap. I've seen them sell for more than I thought they would have. So I don't know. Can't really give you a good idea on price and I don't know exactly what they made. I've seen skillets And I think they made a couple other things, but they weren't really a big company, and they, like you said, they weren't around all that long. So a boxer and a wrapper, yes, I am. Yeah, the pipe insulation pool noodles, brilliant idea. Yeah, I think I got that from Billy Lee. She was the one who sent me some stuff. It was all pool noodle together. And it worked out really nice. So, yeah, I've been using it ever since. And the pipe insulation is cheap. 6 foot length of that is usually less than $1, depending on what size it is. Like half inch, 3/4 inch. It's usually like 70, 80 cents for a 6 foot length, and it's definitely worthwhile. And if you get some, you can reuse it. Your newest find was a 14 unmarked Wagner, paid $45. Yeah, that is a good price for it. Usually even the unmarked ones, usually go for 75 to 100. So, 45 for it is really a good price. And anything, pretty much any number 14, you're looking at better than $100. Unmarked Wagner, uh, Lodge, BSR, things like that. People are starting to recognize the big Lodge and the big BSR skillets. But yeah, pretty much anything, number 12 and above, you're looking at more than $100 at least, sometimes a lot more. Yeah, turquoise and has the three triangles, or actually a triangle on the bottom. They were USA made. Yeah, like I said, I've seen them around a few times, and like I said, there seems to be some demand for them, but the prices are kind of all over. Sometimes people jump on it thinking it's something real rare, and they're not common. They weren't around for a whole lot of years, but they did make nice stuff. Yeah, it has three triangles. Yeah, it's kind of Mercedes logo kind of thing. And the prizers are nice skillets. I mean, I wouldn't pass one up if I came across one at a reasonable price. How much would be a good price for a good muffin pan, cast iron that is? Uh, Griswold, of course, is going to cost more. Usually I see the Griswold muffin pans selling 60, 70, sometimes as much as $80. Wagner ware, the later the Griswold and the Wagners uh, look pretty much identical. But Wagner ware you can find, an unmarked Wagner ware especially, you can usually get those for 25 to $40 range. And there's imports that use the same design too. You can usually get those pretty cheap. Might be a little rough on the inside of the cups, but depending if you want a brand name one, you're going to pay more for it. But usually you can get one for 20 to 30 bucks without too much looking. I could pay like $5 for that enameled muffin pan that I threw in there with it. They're unmarked, and they're an Asian import. There's a couple other things that have that same color of enamel with white specks in it. It's a pretty looking pan, but they're not terribly expensive. Which side cornbread pan is more valuable, large or small? Uh, Wagner made three sizes. They made the junior size, which is the medium size, and they're real common. The senior size, they didn't say senior on it, but people call them the senior size. The big ones, those are more scarce. You're going to pay for one of those, $50. give or take, maybe as much as 60 or 70. And the T size, the little tiny, I've actually got an aluminum one here. That's an aluminum T size Wagner. Those usually go for 50 to 60 bucks too. The cast iron ones, anyway. And you see there it says T size on it. I can get and that's an aluminum one. But they made them in aluminum cast iron, at least these ones. So, did I have to cut the legs on the butcher block to raise it up? No, it was just the height of the frame and the height of the casters brought it up to pretty good height to work with. That added about 4 inches to it and raised it up enough to where it's a little more comfortable for me. And it lines up a little bit better with the top of the wood stove. So yeah, the big cornbread pans are more expensive, and so are the really small ones. Lodge they also made most of the ones you see are 7 slots. They made a 5 and a 9 slot, which aren't quite as common, but they usually don't sell for much of a different price. So yeah, it just kind of worked out the butcher block anyway. It worked out to be a pretty nice height all on its own. And you wish to try and weld the large pot of a John C. Johnson combo. Nice crack 6 inches down from the top. I could have a go at it. I can't make any guarantees, whether or not it's going to be successful. Like I said, I'm working on welding cracks now. I welded up that square skillet that I'm sending out. That turned out real nice. A little bit tricky. You got to find the end of the crack. That's the biggest problem. And for that, it's made by Magnaflux, but it's a dye crack revealer. You spray a dye, you clean it off, you spray a dye on where the crack is, where you think the crack is, let it sit for a while, and the dye will penetrate the crack. Then you wipe it off, and you spray it with a developer that's talcum powder and a couple other things. And that'll draw it out and make a red line on a white background so you can see exactly where the crack ends, and drill a hole through the end of the crack, and then you can start welding it up. But yeah, I would have a try at it. And you'd have to pay the shipping both ways, but other than that, I'll give her a go. Leave a message on the email, mudbrooker@yahoo.com, and we can figure something out. Happy New Year. I suggest trying Korean cast iron. Great stuff. Thin and fun to use on a charcoal fire. Yeah, I've had seen a lot of really nice Korean cast iron. Some of it's kind of rough on the inside, but they usually mill the inside on the cooking surface real nice. And yeah, it tends to be light and thin and, pretty decent quality stuff. Certainly nothing to complain about, and it cooks just as good as anything else does. So, yeah, you can usually get Korean cast iron dirt cheap too. So, if you want it for outdoor cooking or something like that, or, somebody starting off or not sure what they're doing with it, you can find a nice cast iron Korean skillet to give them. Go ahead and give them one of those and see how they like it. Did you settle on the name for the kitten? Yeah, I named her Minnie. And she's tearing around here somewhere yet. Shot her sip whenever the cat shows up. Yeah, sometimes she'll be running around randomly, and then she'll sleep for about 4 hours and then terrorize everything. You got 2 of the T-size. Yeah, I finally found a cast iron T-size one. I don't have it close at hand, but I got that aluminum one too. And that's a nice little Nice little thing. And they make nice, cute little corn cobs. Mercy be, nice to see you. You have the large Wagner that says patent pending on it. Yeah, I think even though they say patented 1920, the patent pending ones came first, and I think those were more in the 30s. But most of the ones that say patented 1920 were made from the late 30s on up into the 50s. So they're not actually from the 1920s, where the patent pending ones were earlier because the patent was still pending. And the marking's kind of moved around on them a lot. You'll see them in different orders. It'll say, some of them it'll say crispy corn cobs on top and Wagner ware in the middle and on down the line. Sometimes they'll switch around the T size in the middle. But those three elements kind of move around. Sometimes it'll be Wagner ware up on top and then crispy corn cobs in the middle, and they floated and drifted around. You got a 55-gallon barrel for electrolysis, has a coating on it, has a came with honey in it. Can I reverse the leads to clean the wall off of the coating? Maybe. It's kind of tough to say what the coating really is. I mean, it could, it's probably a paint type of coating, but it'll also likely have sort of a plastic to it. So it might not come off all that easily. And you could probably just leave it on. I don't see, it's food grade, made for food contact, so you're not going to get into too much trouble with, with that. So you can try reversing it, see if it lifts any of it off. But if it doesn't, I really wouldn't get terribly excited about it. Yeah, it'd make it tough to use the barrel itself as the electrode, but you can just put something in there for an electrode. And if you really want to, you can burn it off, but that isn't environmentally sound, and it stinks like hell. That burning paint. Best to use is a plastic barrel and bolt steel plates to it. Yeah, that definitely work too. Has your cat gotten up on the stove yet? No, she can't quite get that high, and I don't think I've had her burn it actually since she came in. So we can. That'll definitely be a learning experience if she jumps up on the stove while it's burning. And yeah, I don't think she'd do it twice. But she's been in the living room with me when I start the big heater stove in the living room, so she got some idea about how a wood stove works. Yeah, the butcher block. Yeah, with the butcher blocks, there seems to be kind of a boom and bust thing with them. Once in a while they'll get hugely popular. Everybody wants one for their kitchen, and the prices will skyrocket, and then they'll kind of settle back down once the people who wanted one the worst got them, I guess. And there's different sizes. Bigger, the bigger they are, the more they're going to cost you. But you can find them fairly reasonable. I paid less than $100 for that. It was like $80 or $90 I paid for that. Needed a little bit of work, but wasn't too bad a shape. If you can find one that's kind of loose, needs to be tightened up and sanded down, refinished a little bit, you can probably do better than to get one that's all all perfectly good to go. And yeah, putting it on wheels like that makes it a lot easier because that is a pretty heavy chunk of wood. My left ear doesn't want to pop for some reason. It's driving me nuts. Same as with your barrel, it had food grade soy oil. Did come off the barrel, never hurt the cast iron. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't worry too much about the coating on a honey barrel because it's rated for food contact. Run three 55-gallon plastic tanks with steel bolted inside. Yeah, I got it's a 65-gallon plastic stock tank, and they made a thing out of sheet metal that you just drop down the inside. It's basically a liner for the inside, and that works pretty slick. And I got little dividers that I can add or subtract or move around. Does Cynthia have a Red Mountain BSR number 4? Don't know. Have to wait and see. Got the missing piece BSR first series 8B Red Mountain round griddle. Ah, cool. Now you have the 4. We'll send the pics. They're beautiful. Yeah, that sounds really nice. Get a set all of them together. No, the 4 series of BSR round griddles. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But anyhow, like I said, I can't wait to get this guy cleaned up. Throw it in the lye as soon as we're done here. See how that turns out. Because, like I said, I was tickled to find that camera's over here this time. Tickled to find that because I do like the Wagner hammering pattern. Yeah, it's really cool. Got that really cool kind of leopard print to it, and it's plated. And yeah, I like nickel plating just because I like nickel plating. So hopefully next week we'll have that done. Oh, that reminds me about next week. I won't have to do the trying to alternate Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'll still be off alternating Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I'm going to be working third shift full time now, so I won't uh, I won't have to work second shift anymore and miss a show because I'm working. So all I got to do is get up a little bit early on Tuesday and do it. So it'll be pretty much every Tuesday, except of course the Tuesdays when I got something else drastically important that needs to be done, or I just don't feel like doing it. But for the most part, we should have pretty regular shows. Still on Tuesday, still 6:30, and so that won't be changing, and it works out pretty nice. Ugly hammered are nice. You got to find one. I've got I got a number 3 skillet and a number 8 ugly hammered. Uh, the chicken fryers and the Dutch ovens, there's a hell of a demand for them. Every time you see one come up for sale, people bid early, bid off, and bid high on them. Usually the chicken fryers and Dutch ovens, I see them pretty typically going 150, 175 bucks for an ugly hammered Dutch oven or fryer with a lid. So yeah, if you could find one for if you can find one of those for 100 or less, you're definitely ahead of the game. The skillets, they're not quite as expensive. I mean, you usually find the skillets fairly reasonable, and a lot of times people don't really quite seem to recognize them. Especially they got a lot of buildup on them. I don't have it handy. They're fairly easy to spot. The handles on them usually look kind of stubby and they usually look a little too small for the pan. And sometimes they'll have a kind of a half-assed number on top. And usually on the bottom, they'll have like 2 or 3 dots or 2 or 3 lines. There's no real rhyme or reason to them. So, there's usually, dimples or something on the bottom of the handle. And like I said, the handle looks kind of short and skinny and a little out of proportion to the rest of the skillet. So if you see something like that that's got a lot of buildup on it, there's a good chance that it might be an ugly hammered. And no, nobody's they're a known unknown. Nobody really knows who made them. There might have been 2 or 3 different makers, and like I said, they're unknown makers. They tend to be a bit heavy, kind of chunky, but they cook really good. Especially if you like a heavier skillet, they work really good for that. So, like I said, you can find the skillets pretty reasonable yet, but the Dutch ovens and the chicken fryers just go for crazy prices. What do you want, kitty? Climb up here and be a pain? You're gonna climb up here and fall asleep. Found a Martin number 8 and a Wagner breakfast skillet this weekend. Ah, cool. I've only got one divided square skillet. I'm fairly sure it's an import. But yeah, I don't have any of the Wagner or Griswold breakfast skillets. I'll get one someday. It's not a huge priority, but if I find one cheap, I certainly ain't going to pass it up. Let's see here. I have an 8, but it's 10 inches from edge to edge. Heavy for their size. Yeah, number 8s are usually 10 and a half inches in there somewhere. But anyhow, we've been at this for a goodish while, so I'm going to shut her down here. See if my cat will quit trying to eat me. I'm supposed to wait until I'm dead, you silly cat. Anyhow, yeah, we named her Minnie. Just bound and determined, ain't you? Here, go sit down here. Named her Minnie, and we'll be back next Tuesday. Like I said, should be pretty regular for Tuesdays now, without too many interruptions along the way. Yeah, if you box up cast iron, try and have a couple inches at least around the outside of what you're packing up. The pool noodles around the edges, those work great. Make sure it's packed tight. I mean, that's really the biggest thing. Make sure it's packed tight, and if you got more than one thing in there, make sure they can't bang together. And it's not terribly difficult to do it right. Like I said, I've gotten some that were packed just great. Got some things that were amazing that they survived the trip, because you got to assume the box is going to hit the ground at some point. Tip: use a more heavy box. Yeah, a little heavier duty box probably would have been better, but this will work, and should survive. Anyhow, my light's blinking over there, trying to tell me something. Anyhow, I'll see you guys next week. You all have yourselves a good weekend. Happy New Year to everybody. Merry Christmas if I didn't say it before. Me and the cat will be back next Tuesday with something else. Hopefully something new. Hopefully have that plated hammered skillet cleaned up enough so you can get a decent look at it and see what it looks like. And yeah, go ahead and get a hold of me on my email about that Johnson skillet bottom. Let's see what we can do about it. Great show about packing. Oh, thank you. And I guess that'll wrap us up for tonight, and we'll see you guys next week.